Hi guys, my name is Than. I am wanting to do a quick video here just to show you my D&D 4th edition workflow. So I started playing 4th edition about a year or so ago, and I really like it so far. I really like all the powers, and I think that's a cool difference between 4th and the other editions. And so I've really enjoyed it, and I've just found some software over the past couple of months that I feel has really helped me to manage my game at the table. And I've actually written some software too, and I want to show it to you guys. If you guys are interested in it, I might end up releasing it either as something that people can download or use, or possibly open sourcing the projects. So let me start by talking about the problem that I'm trying to solve here. I think for most of you that have played 4th edition, you would recognize the fact that the powers become kind of encumbering at the gaming table after, well, it doesn't take long, honestly, because you have 4 to 6 people there, plus the DM, and everybody has character sheets that they want to manage, which are sitting at the table or around the table somewhere. Pencils, other paper and notes, books, a game, grid, a battle grid of some type. So you have all these things at the table already. And then on top of that, each character has, potentially between 10 and 15, 20, 30, powers that they want to manage. And that, I'm including like items and things like that in there also that have powers that you would like to be able to manage and be able to look at. So obviously, the powers aren't like the cards, that would represent powers are not like playing cards. They have a lot of rules on them. They have a lot of details on them and things that you would want to use during gameplay to give you guidance, and you also want to somehow track which powers you've used over time. So, all that just to say the powers become pretty encumbering. The other problem is that if you, like, I love the idea of printing out the powers as cards, because the first time we played, it just seemed so cool that everybody had these like cool cards that described all of their powers on them, and and it was really cool to be able to set them out and plan your strategy for the next turn while you're looking at your powers, and it was awesome. But then the next session came and I was going to have to print out more cards, because people find items, people level up, they gain powers. So, sometimes people might want to retrain, get rid of a power, get a new one. So now we're coming to the idea of having to print out new power cards. And I was, as the DM, I was pretty much the one doing that every time. And it just started to feel really like it was going to be a pain, like pretty quickly. Seemed so cool at first, and I love the idea of it still, but it just it started to slow things down. So the other problem was that people would have their powers, and these, I'm not playing with a bunch of people that have played D&D for years and are super on top of everything as far as the calculations go and everything. So every time somebody's going to use a power, we'd have to go through this whole thing of, okay, what power is it? I would look at it, I'd say, okay, it's it's strength versus AC, or strength versus fortitude or whatever. So we'd figure out that. Then we'd say, okay, what's your strength bonus? Okay, not the damage bonus to strength, but your strength plus half level. Give me that. And then what's your proficiency bonus? And then what's your and all the bonuses. It was a little bit difficult, especially when it was like 2 a.m. and people are trying to do this math and think of all these different numbers, which, yeah, a lot of them could be written down, but it just started to get complicated in that way too. It's a simple thing, and it was simple math, but it was slowing down things every single turn. So now, let me talk about the solution. So as you can see here, I have the Wizards of the Coast character builder here. So my workflow and a big part of my solution was getting the character builder set up. And I'm not going to talk about all of the ins and outs of setting up the character builder right now. There's other videos that you can find about that. There's other, write-ups that people have done on forums and whatnot that tell you how to do it. I absolutely 100% highly recommend it. The first thing I noticed when I got the character builder set up with all of the custom XML using CV Loader, the first thing I noticed was that it calculates everything for you. Basically, everything that could be calculated beforehand is calculated. Obviously, it won't, it's not going to add in bonuses for combat advantage or for, spell effects and things like that, because those aren't predictable beforehand. But everything else, like feat bonuses, for weapon expertise or, anything like that, obviously the bonuses for your level, anything like that is going to have an effect. Even item bonuses, if an item gives you a bonus to every power that has the fire keyword and it gives you a +2 bonus to damage on that, that will be calculated by Character Builder, and you'll be able to see that on the character sheet, and it'll show you the calculations. I'm just trying to bring up the character sheet here. So, it does all of this work for you, which is totally awesome, but either we have to print out all these sheets every time, or, which, I guess that's not terrible, but everybody still then has a bunch of sheets that they're flipping through constantly to figure out their powers. We could print them out as cards, cut them up. We already talked about that. That's a bunch of work. Or you could have a computer at your little station, which is even more distracting than just having the papers and everything everywhere. So this is super cool. I love the data that it provides me, but this format just doesn't work. So what I did was I developed some software to parse the XML that is produced by the character builder. So when you save your character in the character builder, it creates a file, and that file is just plain old XML, and it's well formatted. It has a lot of details. Almost every detail that you see in the character sheet when you open it is available in the XML that is pushed out by by saving your character. So I decided to build an application that would parse that XML and display it in an app so that people could view the powers for their characters. So here it is. It can be pulled up on your desktop and it can be pulled up on your phone. If you pull it up on your phone, you see, roughly one power card at a time, but you scroll through them all and it works just as well. So you can see here, it pulled in, we have all the powers for the character, and what happens is you would go and save your character file, and the application that I wrote watches a directory. You can set a directory path for it, and it will watch that directory path. And if a new D&D 4e file pops into it, it will scan that file, it will get the character data, and it will add it to this list of characters. These are all characters that I've created and scanned, and you will then be able to go into the app, choose your character, and display all the powers that that character has. So with my example here, this is a paladin. He's only level 2, 19 powers already. This is including the melee basic attack, range basic attack, bull rush, and grab attack, which an opportunity attack, second wind, maybe those 6 you wouldn't even have at the table. I have a lot of new players at the table, so this is actually useful for them. There's some times where you have to use your melee basic attack, like when you're doing an opportunity attack or some other reason, or you might want to do a ranged basic attack. And it's nice to have that data there. I mean, it is simple, but for newer players, I feel like it's good to have those just those rules available for them to read at their leisure. So anyway, so yeah, it's 19 powers. This is only a level 2 guy. And this includes potions, showing you the potions here and what their abilities are. The other thing it does is it tracks the state of the power if you've used it. You know, in Blood of the Mighty here, click on it. Now we see that that's used. The other thing you're seeing here is that it's syncing across multiple clients. So if the DM has this open and the player has it open, and the player used the power and the DM says, oh, okay, they used the power, but they didn't mark it as used, you can just, you know, the DM can go in and mark the power as used, and it shows up as used on the player's screen as well. So that syncs together. So that's pretty cool. And these are saved. So if I totally refresh, I don't lose that. We'll come back in. We go back into our character. It's saved on the server side. So you can come back in and you see Stolen Life still used, Blood of Mighty is still used. If you guys have to quit in the middle of your session, you can do that. You can come back and you'll know which powers were used and which ones weren't. So that's pretty nice too. The other thing is, what happens if you know, you get a new item or something like that? Like this is for a Flesh Grinder Battle Axe, and it, you know, displays the power for us. Or, you know, what if you get a different item, you decide you're going to use a different weapon, you lose your items or something in the middle of the game, you're going to use a different weapon. All we have to do is we go into Character Builder, we'd go to the character, I would switch him up. And this is an event, honestly, it only happens probably once per session, where people are changing items or powers significantly. So I don't find it a big deal to track everybody's character and just the basics. I don't have every single gold piece that they have in here. I don't have every single piece of adventuring gear that they have in here. Just basically the stuff that's gonna provide them with a power. So, you know, let's say you got a new broadsword. We want to display that in there instead of the axe. So let's add the broadsword to the character. Save the character. So we save it and then go over here, and we're going to have to actually refresh it. I'm going to work on a change later so that it will just automatically get pushed to the client, but for now we're going to have to refresh it. And now we see the broadsword there. So it calculated everything for us for the broadsword. +8 versus AC for a melee basic. 1d10 +4. Has the greatsword, has the battle axe. So every weapon that it has on him. And this is, I mean, I'm just taking this data that's given to us from the character builder. The other thing I'm doing, which the character builder doesn't do on its own, it does not export all of the power data on its own into your character sheet. So you'll notice that I'm displaying all of the power data here. That is because, same thing with the weapons, same, you know, Potion of Clarity. It doesn't export all of this data for us. So what I'm doing is when the server that hosts this application fires up, it actually has a parser inside it that goes and looks at your CB loader directory, grabs the gigantic main XML file that has all of the data that the character builder uses, and it goes through that file and it parses out every single power and every single item power. So that way, like even here, we can, if I just wanted to browse Paladin powers and click on this, you see now it's displaying all 56 powers for his particular, because this guy's level 2, so it's just showing from 0 level. 0 is like class features and stuff like that, up to level 2. So if we want to change this filter to only look at encounter powers at first level, we can do that. and that just lets us browse through these powers. We can, I don't know, it's kind of nice. I direct my players to do this when it's level up time, so they can browse through the powers and see what stuff is available to them. So as you can see, this is, it displays it to the characters in a card form, which is pretty cool, I think anyway. And it allows you to track usage. The other cool thing is that you can create groups for these powers. So you can manage these groups. I have an attack group set up for this guy, which has all of the powers in it that actually do damage in combat. So this is just 6 powers here. You don't have to look through all your list of powers when you're just concerned about what's going to do damage. The other thing I have is a utility/healing group. These are all of the powers that will, give him some sort of utility and or heal him or somebody else during combat. So, this has 9 powers in it. I know exactly what these powers are going to do. Or you can look at your just full group of powers. And you can customize that. You can manage the groups. You can add new ones, or you can delete or rename any of the existing groups that you have. And then you can add powers to those groups just by hitting this little pin icon. You'll see the power groups here. White means it's not in it. You click on it, it turns red. That means now that it's part of the utility/healing group. I don't really want it to be part of that, so I'm not going to add it. And then you click this little X and it just takes you back to the regular power description. So that's also, I think, pretty cool. It allows people to manage their powers based on what they're wanting to do. Oh, I'm wanting to attack. Oh, I'm wanting to heal, whatever. And it just makes things easier for the players. Okay, so I've discussed Character Builder as part of my workflow. So that's pretty much where it starts. I put my characters into Character Builder. I save them into that one directory that is being scanned by the application server, and that imports them into my power card viewer so that everybody can view their powers, can manage the state of the powers, whether they've been used or not. And the final part of the workflow is D&D 4e Combat Manager. So I did not write this application. It was written by these people here, Jason Donovan and Jason Klein. And they were kind enough to open source this product. I really like it. I found that it really helps me while I'm running games. So what you can do here is this will also import character builder character files. So that was kind of what gave me the idea for importing those files. Before I had sort of a beta version of this where I was actually creating a listing of all the powers that a character had, and that was sort of a pain because I also didn't have any of this data. And so when I saw that you could import the actual character file and get this data, that was a big leap forward for the application. So what I can do is I can bring in the same character that is already here. I have made, since this is open source, I made changes to also connect to the application server. So now we can add this character. When I add him to combat, we see it goes out to the server, it grabs and checks all of the powers that have been used. Before you saw we marked Stolen Life and Blood of the Mighty as used, so those two show up as used already. The other sweet thing is that this is pretty much the DM tool here. I'm not always in the app, but I'm always in this. This is what I use to track my turns, to track my status effects on monsters and on players, and to just kind of see what every player has available to them as they begin their turn. Same for the monsters. So it's really sweet that this thing has all of the same powers in it. The other thing is, like I said, I made changes to connect to the application server so that when you use the powers, it will update on both sides. So now we see Stone's Endurance I just used on the left-hand side. You see how it's white. I'm going to go and retoggle it. I'll refresh it. You see how it turns red now again to show that it just basically maintains the state between these two applications. So this is super sweet. As the DM, I can manage the player's powers from this side I believe I did make a change so that this has an option to take a short rest, and that will, so it obviously didn't refresh the daily. But if we go on this side, we see Stolen Life. That's now refreshed, so that stays in sync. Blood of the Mighty is still not refreshed. This has an option to take an extended rest. We'll do that. We see Blood of the Mighty now shows up. So this has been very useful to me. So the two things that I just felt like have saved tons of time, having this data available to the players on their phones, basically. You know, everybody has a phone pretty much, or a tablet. And a lot of people bring it anyway, and they're using it anyway. At least now, like, I'm occupying their phone time a little bit with something that I find, you know, was something that is adding to the game instead of taking away from it. So that's pretty much it. That's my workflow. I could end up, if people are actually interested in this, I might release this server as just a standalone application that you can fire up on your computer, and basically people would be able to navigate to your server through the Wi-Fi. Everybody that shows up is going to have to connect to the Wi-Fi, and then they can navigate to your server, and you can manage the characters through that. And if people are interested in that, please let me know, and I would consider making it available to the public. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.